gentlemen, welcome to the Good Roads Podcast, and welcome to your bulletin breakdown for March 9th, 2026. You know the rules. We have 3 interesting topics for municipalities and municipal workers around Ontario. We have 5 minutes to discuss each of them with our panelists, or whatever you want to call them, Mr. Thomas Barakat and Andrew Blackburn. Gentlemen, how's it going? Mr. Thomas, it's your birthday weekend this weekend, so I'm going to ask you, what are you up to this weekend?
Well, Jared, just taking some time away, stepping back from a lot of stuff, trying to enjoy, some peace and quiet. Sorry?
You're trying to enjoy getting older.
Yes. And then also celebrating, of course, International Women's Day, which happens to fall on the same day as my birthday. So it's going to be good. It's a good weekend.
There we go.
I mean, mine usually falls on the date of the Immaculate Conception. That's usually what shows up on my birthday on particular calendars. I think
is there some sort of connection there, Andrew?
Maybe, or it's also the day after John Lennon was shot. 1 year to the day.
Okay. Nice pivot off that blasphemy. And with that, let's move on to our topics of the week, gentlemen. We have 3 of them, and we're going to get started with the first one: Ring of Fire roads blazing forward. And we're not talking about the drive-through at Taco Bell, gentlemen. We have 5 minutes on the clock, and 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, Ring of Fire roads blazing forward. The thing with the Ring of Fires is that it just evokes so many different puns. And I am a dad, but I don't do puns very well. So I had to actually resist making this title even worse. So yes, the government has announced its plans to accelerate construction of all-season roads connecting the First Nations community up in the Ring of Fire area. So this is kind of big news. This is 5 years ahead of plan. So things were not proceeding this fast, but the Premier is obviously very, very serious about this. And I know he's been talking to the Prime Minister about these plans as well. So yeah, their shovels are going to be hitting the ground this summer, June 2026. They're going to be starting on the 2 roads to Webequie and Marten Falls. So there's 4 roads as part of this plan. Those 2 roads connecting those communities to the provincial highway network, I think down to Highway 584, I believe it is. So that's what's hitting around this year, and then 2028 they're going to start the road connecting those 2, the northern link, by 2028, with plans to be operational by November 2031, which is a little late in the season for that. But it's kind of interesting because there's no actual operating lines up there yet, so I think that's the first step for that. So right. This project has always fascinated me. 10 years ago, I worked in Premier's office just as a lowly eon in their policy department. And I always remember the principal secretary had a map of the Ring of Fire region up on his road. And I had a couple different conversations with advisors up there. And it was kind of like the same plan. He's just like, yeah, we're going to need to build at least 2 roads connecting communities. And the thing is that this was 2015. And at that time, it was the exact same numbers being bandied about. So there is no cost with this government announcement. They don't talk about the cost. But 2015, it was $2 billion, $1 billion from the province and $1 billion from the feds. And very, very recently, the provincial government has been still quoting those exact same numbers: $1 billion from the province, $1 billion from the feds. So I don't know if the province has dedicated more than $1 billion to this fund. Yeah. And I know that the Premier has also been teasing the conversations with Carney to see if he can convince the feds to go halfsies, as the plan has always been. And Carney has been talking about this like resources lately. So I don't know if that's been part of this whole thing. Yeah.
We'll have to kind of wait and see on that. But a couple points I wanted to touch on in this discussion, Andrew. The first point was it's fast tracked, which you mentioned, but I'm a little bit surprised that they never had to invoke Bill 5 or any of the powers, I guess, that the government got from that from that piece of legislation, that act, I guess. Now it is the law of the land. For those of you who maybe weren't aware, it kind of gives the province the authority to essentially bypass any sort of planning laws, municipal bylaws, environmental assessment, like pretty much everything to kind of get this stuff built. I don't know if having that like dangling in the background helps speed this up. I don't know. That's just something to think about. I don't know.
But yeah, I know. I know it's part of those two agreements. Like they had that agreement, that one project, one process agreement with the feds, so they don't actually duplicate environmental assessments.
Yeah,
and I think these partnerships with Webequie and Marten Falls, I think, has kind of allowed them to sidestep revoking Bill 5. But of course, it's important to note that the other neighboring communities are still, they're not on board with this. They're not happy with the way they've done it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to mention. Yeah, it is. What is the name of that First Nation?
Neskantaga and Grassy Narrows. Grassy Narrows obviously is the one that's coming to Queen's Park a lot and doing a lot of protests.
Right. Yeah. So the last point I'll mention on this is we've talked about northern road safety. We've talked about modernizing the highway system in Northern Ontario. What happens once this gets built, and let's say the mining operations do ramp up? Do we finally get a commitment from various levels of government to make this road safer, to expand it? That's what we'll have to wait and see. But I hope we don't have to wait until then. I hope they kind of do that in advance of that. Just for the sake of Northerners and their safety in general, because that's
I know that's the big question. Because like with more road access up there, we're going to have more big trucks. We're going to have more people driving on the provincial highway network that is vastly in need of, or greatly in need of upgrades up there.
Yeah.
All right. Let's end it there. We went a little bit over time, but we'll make up for it in the next couple. Our next one, and I don't have a smart quip for this one, but when the robots clog our roadways, gentlemen, 5 minutes back on the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
Sure. Thanks, Jared. Yeah. We've talked about autonomous vehicles a couple of times. I think this is maybe the second or third time we've mentioned it, and we're not going to go on our anti tech bro tirade this time. I promise. We're going to have a different spin on it. But essentially, there was an article that we had seen in Vox, which was written by a woman by the name of Marina Bolotnikova, and it essentially broke down the biggest drawbacks of driverless cars, autonomous vehicles, that sort of thing. The main crux of this kind of think piece or article, if you want to call it that, maybe is a better term, but is essentially it's the promise of AVs. People talk about safe roads, less congestion, and more efficient transportation. So I guess the question is that actually the case? Now, if all cars are autonomous, I could see that roads being a bit safer once a lot of those kinks are kind of worked out. But will there, in fact, be less congestion? Because if driving becomes easier, more appealing, and that sort of stuff, you're facilitating a behavior in a sense. Mm-hmm. Would you not get more of that? And we've kind of seen that in the past. So if we go back to the 50s, the 60s, when cars really started to kind of proliferate in society, we went from not having a lot of them to them being all over the place. And then that's when we started to get, congestion on highways. That's when we started basically developing our entire societies around these vehicles. So the question is, what happens now if that does start to happen again, if they become more popular? I guess the benefit that we have now is that we have the kind of 50s and 60s lessons and the mistakes that we kind of made when autos became as prominent as they are now. I guess the question is, how does that look with autonomous vehicles?
Yeah. The promises that all of they're making, it just like when you really think about it, it's going to be more convenient, it's going to be easier for people to access. It just doesn't add up to fewer cars on the road. It points to more. So it's going to be more convenient. So who does this appeal to? It appeals to the people who aren't driving. It appeals to the people who are possibly taking public transit right now or using a lot of Ubers. So that's keeping people on the road. And then the existing drivers, they're not leaving the road. They're either converting their own usage to automated. So it just points to more and more expansion and more and more car dependence and more choices that lead to us continuing to build sprawling cities and more highways, more lanes, and all that stuff. It just seems to point to exacerbation of most of the problems we're having now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. And this morning I was looking at some of the media clippings and there was a report on the cost of congestion in the GTA, and it was saying it was going to continue if we stay on the same trajectory. It was going to double by 2044. And then it's like, okay, how do we stop that from happening? There's only so much space on the roads. You can only build so many highways. One more lane, bro. One more lane. That's not gonna stop us from avoiding this kind of trajectory. What we should be doing is probably encouraging people to drive a bit less, giving people options. I think that's kind of really what it comes down to. If you have the option to drive, if you have the option to take public transportation, if we build communities that kind of facilitate people being able to walk around, bike in some cases, obviously, but just the option is just so you're not forced to take a car for every single trip that you have, no matter the length, no matter the distance, whatever. Because sometimes people just don't want to, but they're forced to, and that makes congestion worse as well. So,
yep. And and just as a final cap, we can finally return back to the other big promises made by the AV revolution is the safety one. It's like right now the argument is that AVs are safer. Right now, they're only tested in city environments. Right now, they're not on the highways. They're not in high speed. They're in low speed, city centers and stuff like that, where people, they can build out these networks really, really easily. And the big claims that they're making are depending on lack of vehicle on vehicle crashes. Right now, the thing that they're having a big problem with is identifying things like people, cyclists, these little confusing things that dart in and out of their cameras.
Yeah, and I did see an article the other day, I think, that said that the rate at which autonomous vehicles were crashing or getting into accidents was actually higher, or the error was actually the error rate was higher amongst AVs than it was amongst humans, which is weird because you would think that would be the main thing that they would be focusing on.
Yeah, and I know that Jared probably wants us to move on, but I was just watching an interview with one of our keynote speakers, Missy Cummings, with George Costanza on his podcast. She was talking about how Waymo undercounts theirs because they don't count rear endings. They don't. They because in their mind, being rear-ended is never their fault ever. So they just don't count it in their stats.
All right, let's cut it right there. We could be talking about AVs all day, and
true.
I kind of want to dive in on this conversation too, but we'll leave it at that for now. We're going to move on to our third topic. We're talking getting salty about oversalting. So we're going to get 5 minutes back on the clock, and let's talk about salt in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. All right. So this is a little bit of a comeback story because we were just talking about salt, but we were talking about the road salt shortage in Ontario. And we touched a little bit on the environmental impacts, especially when it comes to the alternatives, because they're more expensive and we don't actually know what the impacts of the alternatives, the road salt is. Recent testing has shown that there are streams in Ontario that are saltier than the ocean. Western Creek and Newmarket
that is so crazy.
34% saltier than the sea. This is another story that's kind of becoming part of my road salt education here at Good Roads, because it's you hear about the runoff. The salt doesn't go anywhere. The rains come just like today. This is going to be a perfect day, a rainy day where a lot of the salt is going to be washed away directly into our water streams. So this story focuses completely specifically around the Lake Simcoe watershed, and apparently in that area, the Conservation Authority estimates there's about 120 tons of salt.
No, 120,000 tons.
Sorry. Yes, thank you. 120,000 tons of road salt used annually, and they've been monitoring Lake Simcoe for decades. So they have extensive records where they're seeing these levels go up. They're measuring chloride of sodium chloride fame, so table salt breaks down, and the chloride levels are just accumulating because they don't go anywhere. They just go down to the bottom, and the worst part of the story is like there's no way to remove it. It's just impossible. So that's going to affect the ecosystems. It's going to affect like reproduction of the life there. And it's kind of interesting. Is like the story even touches on is like after a certain point, like, you know, this affects our drinking water. If they even had made a special mention is like, if you have like, you know, salt restricted diets, there is a certain point where you're actually going to be advised not to use the drinking water, which is just, like, I think that's a huge sign, right?
Yeah. And I think we have to ask ourselves, well, why is this happening? Like, why are we at the point where this is happening? I think we touched on it a couple of weeks ago, but I mentioned it again. Municipalities, for the most part, are not the problem. Yeah, municipalities, they know to not oversalt. It's private contractors,
businesses, parking lots are a big thing.
Just getting slip and falls, or just they're afraid of getting sued.
Yeah,
you know, there's the article I think that you'd referenced, which was in the Narwhal, I believe. Again, great article. We're linking it in the bulletin. They mentioned. New Hampshire, a program that they have there. They call it the Green Snow Pro program, which is kind of similar to our Smart About Salt that we have here in Ontario. Basically, there's like training for smart salt application, but the difference is between New Hampshire and Ontario is that certified contractors there receive limited liability protection. Now, that might be something we want to look into, because if they feel that they are not going to get sued, or that the risk level is reduced significantly, maybe they're going to start using less. Yeah. We know that in New Hampshire, there was a 25 to 45% reduction in salt use, which is huge. That is massive. So maybe that's something to think about. Maybe that's something we should be advocating for, Andrew.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's the effectiveness of this program seems to be good. Like when they have the certification, they use less, and then they don't end up, you know, they can rest easy. They're not going to get sued. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. I think that we should consider that for advocacy in the future. So. Excuse me, just losing my voice for a second here.
Yeah. And I guess, like, again, the only other thing I'd probably mention about this is municipalities and private owners of property they're subject to different laws. Municipalities are subject to the Municipal Act, and that's where the liability differs between that, because the private sector and the owners of property, buildings, whatever, they're subject to the Occupiers Liability Act, and there are different provisions in there. So I'm not suggesting we just copy and paste what's in the Municipal Act to the Occupiers Liability Act, because I think there's probably need something maybe a bit more nuanced than that. But what we'd seen there in New Hampshire, definitely something for our province to consider going forward, because it is, like you mentioned, Andrew, this is a very significant environmental issue, and it affects our drinking water, and that's the most important thing for us to
it's definitely
living on this planet.
Yeah, well, it's definitely encouraging that there are models that we can take a look at, because after reading that article, I was just like, oh my God, this is a situation just seems pretty dire.
All right, let's end it right there, and definitely a large issue with salt, but thankfully that's coming to an end for this winter. It's starting to get warm out there, and we're looking at better weather, Jared, so we won't need salt through the summer.
Don't jinx it, Jared. I know you're a big believer in Wyerton Willie and his predictions. I think you follow him religiously.
Very much so, yes.
Pardon me?
Very much so. I'll praise the rat.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, these couple days, those double digit days that we get in March, those are always the biggest tease, Jared. But then we also know that there's usually, another storm or two left in Old Man Winter. That usually happens after the start of spring, ironically.
Yeah. We just want
kind of
them to happen after March 29th, when our conference starts and our first study tour happens, which happens to be a cycling tour.
I was going to say, Andrew, if I could, okay. I was going to say, maybe if we just between March 29th and April 1st, if we just had no storms. Last year, maybe we pissed off the gods or something. Maybe we weren't worshipping Marten Willie enough like Jared, but we got hit with a storm at the start of the conference and at the end of the conference. We were bookended by storms last year.
Yeah. So let's push it off a couple days later. Like, let's have the storms happen, April 3rd, 4th, because like some people stick around after the conference. And, I know a few people were either leaving early on the Wednesday and try to get ahead of it, or they were risking getting stranded for those who are going further north.
Yeah, exactly.
Or hoping for some good weather for the Jays home opener, get that dome open.
That would be nice.
To cycle back to the point of this little segment, study tours are now open for the Good Roads Conference, including the cycling one you just heard about. Guys, do you want to talk about them? Registration's open on the Good Roads site at goodroads.ca/conference. Look for study tours there. Make sure you get registered, and it's for registered delegates. And these are free on top of your registration, so you don't have to worry about paying for them. We provide anything you may need, like bikes and helmets, and you can't do much about the weather, but what's that?
Yeah.
I just said their lunch is included for some of these tours.
Some of them too, yeah.
Don't get too excited. Probably a nice sandwich or something, but but Jared, just to kind of, very briefly, Andrew and I can kind of touch on some of these. So we have 4 tours this year for our conference delegates. The first one we've already alluded to was a cycling tour. This is the 3rd or 4th time in a row we're doing this. We're hoping for some good weather, but this year is going to be really interesting. It's a bit shorter because maybe it was a bit too long in the past, so we've kind of reduced it in terms of length. But we're going to be cycling from around the Royal York area down to the Toronto waterfront, to kind of the Queen's Quay area, heading down to the Martin Goodman Trail, and we're going to be taking people down to Bida CJ Park. I feel like I probably butchered that, but which is this really like renowned park, one of the biggest, I think, wins in terms of the Toronto Park department and everything that went into it, the planning, the story around it. There's representation there from Indigenous communities. And it's really like, we've heard nothing but good things about this park. So you get to cycle down there, and then you get to come back through the Esplanade area and back to the hotel. We're really hoping for some good weather, but I really encourage people to sign up.
Yeah, and the folks from the City of Toronto are from their department are helping us with this, and they're going to be guiding the tour, and they do a fantastic job. So it should be. You'll get some exercise, but it'll also be like very, very enlightening and illuminating. Yeah.
Yes, and you don't have to be a hardcore cyclist to come on this tour. Yeah. Like Jared said, they're going to provide bikes, they're going to provide helmets, and it's made for anybody who just wants to kind of experience Toronto on a bike, and to see maybe if there's some lessons that they can learn with their communities.
Yep.
And then just other tour. On the Monday the 30th, we have a tour going to Miller Pavement's asphalt plant. I think this is a little bit self-explanatory, but they'll walk you through the asphalt plant production. The asphalt production process. Show you some quality assurance stuff, some wrap stuff, reclaimed asphalt pavement, that is. Then we'll bus you there, bus you back, have a nice lunch. And then Andrew, do you want to touch on the other?
Yeah. So the other 2 tours, we're partnering with Metrolinx again this year. So last year we did a Union Station tour, and we did a walking tour of the Ontario line. This year we're going to be doing another Union Station tour, another elevated one. They'll have some different information this year, just sort of showing the developments around Union Station. And then the other one is also linked to the Ontario line, but we're going to be taking people over to the Dawn Yards, where they're going to be doing a big hub on the future Ontario line going east out of downtown. So that's a big project that Metrolinx wants to show off. So those are the other two tours we're doing this year.
Fantastic and interesting tours, and you can only get them at the Good Roads Conference, ladies and gentlemen. So register now, register quick. The early bird ends next week, right?
March 15th, I believe. No,
you're running out of time, people. The clock is ticking. Tick, tick, tick.
Is it March 15th? March 15th is a Sunday. That seems like a very random day.
Well, they got the weekend to make up their mind then.
Well, is it March 15th at 11:59 p.m. or is it?
Yeah, 11:59. As soon as March 15th ends.
Okay, so if you can register on a Sunday, that's what you're saying.
You got the weekend. We'll give you those extra 2 days.
That's kind.
Also, Guelph Road School is going on right after the conference. A lot of great courses for that. They are filling up fast. I am honestly surprised. Usually it's a nice steady burn, but people have been getting in there. So get your spots, get in there quickly before it's too late. And we look forward to seeing you at the conference. If you have any comments, questions, if you're watching the YouTube video, please be sure to leave them in the comment section. We love to hear from you, and hit that like button, subscribe for daily, or I guess weekly content update. And until next time, everybody, take it easy.